if you don't learn about it now, you could forget, and we don't want to ever forget.
Old John, pack up your kit and come along with me. There's a party across the sea, and they need your company to grace it all.
The portrayal of the anniversary has only been the British soldiers. They don't include any African soldiers.
It's history about our grandpas and grandmas, so it's important to know that.
I didn't know that Chinese people were involved during the war at all.
So many Muslims had died for the Allied cause or for the British Empire, and I think that would really be helpful today if people knew.
The English, French, the Yanks and Irish too. Don't forget what Sherman said, that's where he'll be when he's dead. For we're all going calling on the Kaiser, and we're all...
I think that since 2014, what we've seen has been the confirmation of the British view of the First World War as being about futility and loss and the Western Front. There's also been efforts to broaden the idea of what the First World War was about, but I'm not sure how widely that's been acknowledged by the general public.
The aims of the project are to raise awareness of the kinds of global nature of the war, the fact that it was a war of empire. So the idea of the project is to work with different community groups in Hull to investigate images of colonial troops and workers from the French and British empires in the First World War.
Perhaps the main goals of this project is to empower and involve as much ethnic community as possible to understand the shared heritage with the UK societies.
So we chose to focus in this project on Indian soldiers, on African troops, and particularly from French West Africa who came to the Western Front, and on Chinese workers. The reason that we focused on these three groups was really because they all played a key role in the First World War, and we knew that there were some really interesting images of them. The First World War is really the first war where there are thousands of photographs taken from lots of different perspectives, and so we knew that in terms of looking at the imperial global nature of the war, that these three groups would provide us with some really rich source material.
The most important things for us in this project was to gain a contemporary understanding of the images about 100 years ago.
I think images are brilliant because it doesn't matter what they are. I think there's always conversation there. It creates conversation, it's questioning. And probably whether it's staged, the photographs are staged, whatever the reason, whether they used for propaganda, whether it was informal, I think the conversations that are to be had, you can learn a lot of what people's thoughts are now.
It depends on who took the image, the picture itself, and who the readers are of the picture, and what is it supposed to portray. Is it propaganda or is it the real picture and all that? So I think that's what I've learned today, that not all pictures that you see, like in history books you see pictures, not everything that you see is real.
Through the Homicide All Nations Alliance, we've been able to work, for example, with the Afro-Caribbean Association in Hull, and so we've had a workshop on their premises, which was fantastic, and they've also sort of enabled relationships with other groups across Hull.
Well, today a group of us, Chinese, have come here to look at the Chinese contribution to the First World War.
So mainly when the people born different time, before we got no clock, no everything, you cannot see. That means when you do, you born what, that means what time you born, what minute you born, that means you write it down, all that is different.
One of the things that I've really learnt from working with the different community groups and community organisations within Hull is that if you have a different kind of cultural background and cultural awareness and knowledge, then you can absolutely interpret an image in a different way, so that I've been told about some of the symbolism, for example, of the Chinese workers in terms of what they were wearing, the kind of activities they were carrying out, how that related to Chinese culture more broadly. I had a really interesting discussion with the Afro-Caribbean Association of Hull with a man who had been born in West Africa and had come to live in Hull, and he was able to talk about the way in which an image was absolutely not an authentic image, but had clearly been posed and set up for a Western audience.
Growing up in West Africa and having that background, I think if I use my own culture, which I can speak for everybody, that would look like a staged picture to me. Because there's no way, growing up, I would have stood at that same height with my father. At that age, and then stretching my arm. And culturally, it's not even great. Yeah, that's true, the South.
Well, I think in terms of the sympathy, this picture I like particularly with the children. Most of the pictures were quite sympathetic to the Indian soldiers, and I said, and they would be for both audiences actually. The British people back home could also be proud of their British soldiers, because the British Empire actually was very proud of their Indian soldiers. And then it would be good to show back home as well that look, they're looking after us.
You can't draw simple lines or map in any simple way the society of 2017 onto the society of 1917, but you can absolutely see resonances.
You know, even with my group here, we have to leave family and friends behind. It is quite a daunting thing to actually, I don't think a lot of people realize that when you leave your own comfort zone, your own environment and the language you know, the culture you know, everything you know, you leave behind, and it's quite hard to begin with.
All of these kinds of power relationships, of the ideas behind why the photographs were taken, I think we can talk about that in relation today, in relation to, you know, cultural stereotypes, perceptions that you might have of a particular group of people.
Since the workshop, we produced mobile exhibition and display in different parts of the cities. All ordinary people show interest in this exhibition, and we, in fact, surprised with the interest generated.
There was this big controversy at that time because the Ottoman Empire was Muslim, and so these are soldiers fighting the Ottoman Empire on the side of the British.
Yes.
So actually they have shown their loyalty by being with the British, although they, as you said, sometimes the loyalty was questioned.
I think 我諗佢哋影相嗰方面係影好嗰方面啩，係咪？咁都好，佢可以有個記錄，知道咗有個記錄，有個 record。知道我哋咁，我俾我哋睇，我哋都知道哇！原來佢哋都係好慘，即係都好有一方面對佢哋都幾好，即係有得安慰。
Perhaps as a British society, we all from different background, from different culture, from different religion. Now we build up the British, which is British society now. Well, we shouldn't forget about the past and what happened 100 years ago.
I think it's very important to have these kinds of workshops because they're all part of what I think should be a more general education of the British public about colonial history and British history. British history is imperial history, colonial history.
And we're also calling on the Kaiser, for we've got to teach the Kaiser to be wiser. In his palace on the Rhine, we'll hold services at 9. We'll wish him well with shot and shell, the son of a gun we'll give him well. We're also calling on the Kaiser, the English, French, the Yanks and Irish too. And we'll put him in the hole where they're never short of coal, for we're all calling on the Kaiser, and we're all calling on the Kaiser. For we've got to teach the Kaiser to be wiser. At the foot of Flanders Hill, we'll be planting Kaiserville. We'll wish him well with shot and shell. The son of a gun will give him well. We're all going calling on the Kaiser. The English, French, the Yanks, and Irish too. And the world will all rejoice when we plant the devil's choice. For we're